everybody, Ellie here for WhoCulture. We're back with our weekly tidbit video. As usual, there will be timestamps in this video so you can jump about to the things you're interested in. That means if you are one of those people that doesn't like the Strictly watch, you can just skip it. Which leads me to this week's Strictly Watch! Strictly Watch! Strictly Watch! Doo-doo! Of course, it was week 8 on Strictly Come Dancing where Alex Kingston, aka Riversong, aka the best character, is a competitor this year. Last week, she did have a little bit of a wobble. It was probably the most challenging dance for her, as she was lower on the leaderboard and it knocked her confidence a little bit. This week, she was right back on form, taking her well-deserved spot in the top 3 as per usual on the leaderboard. Her waltz was beautiful. Her dress was stunning. She just looked elegant and ethereal and lovely, and she did such a good job, and I'm so glad that last week's setback didn't completely knock her confidence and trickle into this week. This week she came in full force and was absolutely fantastic, came out with a score of 35 and, as I say, top 3 on the leaderboard once again. Safe from elimination, which means she will be going to Blackpool next week. I feel like that's the point of the competition where everyone wants to at least get to the Blackpool stage. Obviously, if you can vote, then do vote for her. Voting opens after the last couple has danced on the Saturday evening, and you can do so via the BBC website. Not an ad, I just really want her to win. Anyway, shall we move on? So the first little tidbit I want to talk about revolves around an Unmade 10th Doctor episode/story, which may be heading to Big Finish. Now, we have spoken about this before on the channel, but basically there was an unmade episode in Series 4 written by Mark Gatiss, and it would have basically been an Indiana Jones-esque adventure set in the British Museum. Obviously, it never got made for whatever reason, but Mark Gatiss has now said that it could still see the light of day via Big Finish. Now, obviously, we all know what Big Finish is, or I would hope that we do. They create lots of Doctor Who and other things, other franchises, audio dramas. And I emphasise audio drama as opposed to audio books, because these aren't an actor narrating a story, reading a book. These are essentially episodes. It's like watching an episode with your eyes closed. Audio dramas. There's actors cast to play all of the roles. Many Doctor Who actors have told different stories. Alex Kingston has done multiple series of The Diary of Riversong. Paul McGann has told so many 8th Doctor stories via Big Finish that we never got to see on screen. So Big Finish is a wonderful thing. But anyway, this is what Mark Gatiss said with regards to his unmade story. Quote, "I wrote 2 drafts, one set in the First World War. It's set in the British Museum. It's a sort of Indiana Jones type story. It's rather good, I think. I do still have a copy. Big Finish has expressed an interest. It's all gone very quiet though. I'm waiting for that emergency phone call." I think Big Finish is a really great thing to have. As I mentioned, it allows characters who might not have had so much exploration to have more stories told, episodes that never got made that a writer might be particularly proud of, that they would like somehow to see the light of day. So I think it is really exciting that there is this opportunity. Obviously there are lots of things that have to be put in place in order to do that. But even things as like, oh well, say you want an 11th Doctor story, but Matt Smith is ridiculously busy. Audio means, as long as the voice sounds enough like the 11th Doctor, who says it has to be Matt Smith voicing the character, you know? And that has happened. We've had other actors voicing the characters, and you wouldn't know, because they sound so alike to the character. So yeah, I think this would be really exciting. It would be great for Mark Gatiss' story to be used and see the light of day, as he puts it. So I guess we'll keep our eyes and ears peeled for any update on that. Let's move on to the next tidbit, which was announced just after we had given you our entire video talking about the release dates for The War Between the Land and the Sea. So no, we didn't miss it, but we felt that the release dates were more important to talk about there and then. But this is still very exciting and important because The Sea Devils is this year's classic re-edit episode. It will air on Sunday the 7th of December, which is the same day that the first 2 episodes of The War Between the Land and the Sea will air. and it will drop at 6 a.m. on BBC iPlayer and then at 7 p.m. on BBC 4. Now obviously this story is very relevant to The War Between the Land and the Sea. It was the first episode revolving around the Sea Devils with John Pertwee as the Third Doctor. It also has the Master played by Roger Delgado. It has Jo Grant as well, Katie Manning. So it's a great story. But what's very interesting about this re-edit is that it will be like a lot of the others, the previous ones we've seen, such as the War Games in colour, the Daleks in colour. This one was already in colour, but it has condensed down. So it's been condensed down from the original 150 minutes into 90 minutes. It will also, and this is the thing I'm most excited about, because as you guys know, I am a sucker when it comes to musical score. It will feature an enhanced score incorporating music by Lorne Balfe from The War Between the Land and the Sea. So I believe they are going to try and connect the kind of, not through necessarily the story, because the story is as it is, but make a connection between the Sea Devils and The War Between the Land and the Sea even more so by having this continuous use of music. Now we saw that in the War Games. They retroactively went in and gave us kind of very recognisable Master music to kind of imply things about a character that previously had no connections to the Master. And that was done through the music. So it's interesting and exciting that music is a medium in which that you can tell a story and link things that weren't previously linked. Now obviously in the previous video talking about the release dates, we did comment on the fact that the BBC seemed to have backtracked on this, releasing it on iPlayer at one time and then dropping it on actual BBC airing time later on in the day, and how that was very strange and didn't make a lot of sense and a lot of confusion. But I think in this instance it's more okay, because the Sea Devils as a story already exists. So in terms of spoilers, you're not really going to have any, because you've either seen the Sea Devils or haven't. But I'm not going to lie, it's been out for a very long time. So if you're trying to avoid spoilers, it's been out long enough. So in this instance, I think actually this works out better. Also, BBC 4 is not on the main BBC one. BBC 4 tends to have things that are maybe not quite so popular, are on at different times of the day. So I think for this instance, actually, this doesn't bother me so much. If it were the main show itself, I would have issues with it. As I've said many, many times, it makes no sense whatsoever to drop things at different times so that spoilers get out. But yeah, in this instance, the story's already been out for a very long time. You're not really going to get spoilers from it. Anything that is revealed is more likely to be, oh, how great was Lorne Balfe's music? It means I can watch it in the day if I want to. Watch it earlier, ready for The War Between the Land and the Sea later on in the evening. And speaking of The War Between the Land and the Sea, I'm sure many of you will have seen I guess, trailer for The War Between the Land and the Sea. Now, it wasn't a proper official trailer, as in it hasn't been released on like BBC One or anything, but it has been floating around online, and it sees Kate Stewart broadcasting an emergency message with regards to the Sea Devils and what's happening. She actually doesn't call them Sea Devils, they are referred to as Aquakind by Kate. It was a really gripping trailer, I think. Now obviously, as I say, it's not a proper trailer as such, and I'm hoping still that we're going to get a proper trailer. But in terms of building up the hype for it, you can definitely see that the marketing is ramping up for this show now. We went from hearing absolutely nothing about it for the longest time to the last week having so many updates about it, which is very good. I'm very excited about it. And I genuinely am looking forward to this spin-off. I wasn't to start with. But now that we started to see these trailers, I am getting very excited about it. I think the thing that draws me to this one in particular, especially now seeing these trailers, is that it does seem to have a darker, more mature adult tone, which is nothing against Doctor Who in itself. I mean, I grew up watching it, and there is an element of nostalgia to that kind of more childlike elements. And there are really scary episodes of Doctor Who as well. But I guess now that I'm older, now that some of the episodes have been a bit more silly in the more recent Doctor Who, I'm excited to see something a little bit more mature and serious. This then leads me to something that a lot of people have pointed out, and I have also noticed in this trailer. There are a lot of similarities between this trailer and what it's showing The War Between the Land and the Sea to be, and Torchwood Children of Earth. So many similarities, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. It does feel a little bit like they are trying to replicate that in some way, but I also think maybe that's good. I think it's a general consensus is that Children of Earth was peak Torchwood, was Torchwood at its best. There are already similarities between it and The War Between the Land and the Sea before we'd even seen this teaser. in as much as it's a spin-off of Doctor Who. It's got a much more adult, mature theme and tone to it. It's only 5 episodes. So there are lots of similarities, but even just looking at this teaser, you've got this idea of aliens negotiating with humans, but even more so you've got a room in a government building being modified to accommodate these aliens, a big tank being built so that these aliens can survive in the environment. That's very Torchwood Children of Earth. You know, the 456 demanding that this tank be built for them and the air have to be breathable for them in a government building. There's so many similarities. Even like visually it looks quite similar. Again, I'm not mad about it. Children of Earth is my favourite Torchwood series. Obviously then we have, you know, the darker tone, the global stakes as opposed to it being quite isolated. The same with Children of Earth. I guess here it seems a little bit more public knowledge as opposed to Children of Earth. It was public knowledge in as much as the children of Earth were being affected by it, but there was a lot of secrecy revolving around what was causing it, what the real reasons for everything was. Whereas here it very much seems like the world is aware of the alien invasion that's happening. But there's other similarities as well, in as much as Kate's broadcast, Kate's transmission is very much echoes Gwen's opening video message from the final episode of Children of Earth, Day 5. That message of kind of appealing to the human race in a way, laying it all out on the table and saying this is the situation we're in and it's dire. And then of course we have the clear similarity or crossover with Children of Earth, which is Colin McFarlane's character Austin Pierce, who appeared in Children of Earth. No doubt there's going to be maybe some sort of reference to that in some way in this spin-off. This isn't like Gugu and Mbatha Raw or Russell Tovey playing a different character and us just having to pretend that we don't recognise them as Martha Jones's sister or Alonzo. This is the same character, and he was very involved with the 456 situation as a general. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting. That makes it interesting in itself that we've got crossover in characters with Children of Earth. And from this trailer, as I say, I am getting more and more excited about it. I think the tone definitely feels like something that could be very gripping and exciting. Now, obviously, there was an interview with Russell T Davies released a little while ago where he spoke about the Sea Devils now being referred to as Homo Aqua. And this was in the trailer here, they were referred to as Homo Aqua. So that could be very interesting. There is maybe a slight concern about changing the names of so many characters. I mean, I'm already just keep calling them Sea Devils. We obviously do have the term Aquakind in there as well. Makes a little bit more sense in terms of like humankind. Sea Devils does maybe feel like the name that someone would come up with that doesn't like them, you know, if you just start calling people devils. But in general, I'm very intrigued to see how this spin-off turns out. Obviously, there's only 5 episodes. Presumably, because the Disney Plus deal is now ended, I'm assuming this is going to be a contained 5-episode story as opposed to a 5-episode story that ends on a cliffhanger with the initial assumption that there was going to be another series. It would make a lot of sense if the Disney deal had been very solid and secure and they knew that there was going to be more going on. But I'm hoping that this is just going to be very self-contained, 5 episodes, and it's all wrapped up like Children of Earth was. I keep going back to Children of Earth because I'm really hoping that these similarities are a green flag and tell us that they are trying to replicate the most successful series of Torchwood, and that we're going to get something really worthwhile. Are you excited for The War Between the Land and the Sea? Has anyone come up with a title that's shorter for me to say? In the meantime, I've been Ellie for WhoCulture, and in the words of Riversong herself, goodbye, sweeties.